The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss tomato problems and how to resolve them, as well as the importance of native plants on your property. Our guest is Rebecca, a.k.a. the Easter Gardener, and will answer your garden questions. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. And
welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy you've taken time out of your day to allow us to be part of it. I am your host, Joy Baird. Across from me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. We thank you for listening to the program, whether you're tuned in to one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2023, or through a radio app, through our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Under the Season 7 tab at the top of the page, in studio video replay, podcast replay. However you're doing it, thank you very much. You want to be part of the program? It is very simple. It's just a few dial digits away. You can give us a call toll-free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. If you want to be part of the program, send us your question, and we will get an answer to you. If you'd like to send us an email, you can do that at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Again, our toll-free number is 1-800-927-7469. Well, Holly, one of the big topics of conversation in gardens right now across the country is, this is wrong with my tomatoes. Is this normal with my tomatoes? My tomatoes are doing this. How do I fix it? Is this healthy? I've got problems with my tomatoes.
Well, you have problems, and we hopefully have solutions or something.
Out of the 4,000 problems, we're going to try to knock out about 3 or 4 of the most prolific, most popular ones here.
So we can start with early blight, or?
Yes, let's go with early blight.
So early blight is typically when your tomatoes start to yellow at the bottom, and then slowly throughout the season, it continues to work its way up through the stem, and then eventually kind of just affecting the leaves too.
The whole plant becomes yellow, the leaves die off, fall off, you've got stalk and you got tomatoes, but no leaves, and your plant's basically dead. This is from bad bacteria in the soil splashing up on the leaves and progressively working and infecting the whole plant. So there's a 3-part remedy for this, and all of us have probably got tomatoes planted in the ground, and if you haven't done these 3 steps, you can do them now. Number 1, trim the bottom 6 to 8 inches up the stalk of the leaves and the limbs to allow good air circulation beneath the plant and to reduce soil splash up. 90% of the problems the tomato plant's going to face is going to be with soil splashing up on the leaves in some way, shape, or fashion. And anything from the canopy that may be hanging over or getting close to the soil, trim that off. Getting your tomatoes up off the ground in a cage or trellis mechanism is going to reduce the early blight as well. So step 1, trim the bottom every 2 to 3 weeks. Step 2, mulch. Well, before step 2, add a handful of whole grain yellow cornmeal around the base of the plant. And that whole grain yellow cornmeal has a beneficial bacteria in it called trichoderma that will fight the bad bacteria, which is the early blight. Throw a handful around the base of the plant. You can water it in. It doesn't deactivate the cornmeal if it gets wet. And then the 3rd step is mulch, with some type of mulch to hold moisture in, suppress weeds, and reduce the amount of soil splash up on your tomatoes. There you go.
Yeah.
Early blight.
That's how you deal with early blight. You have to be proactive versus reactive. And then you will have great results. We've had people tell us, we sounded kind of crazy using this whole grain cornmeal, and they didn't think it would work, and then they tried it, and then they've never had early blight.
Right. We received this information as we scoured the internet. This was like 2014 from Bob Webster, who is a master gardener and Garden Talk radio host. At least he once was in the Central Texas area. I don't know if he still holds that position or not, but that's where we got it from, and he'd been using it for years.
Right. And so it's effective, and it's simple in the way that you don't have to maybe purchase something. It's usually, cornmeal, you probably need that, but it's not where you have to buy some sort of expensive spray or soil additive. Whole grain cornmeal is pretty cheap compared to other things.
Blossom and root rot.
Yeah, blossom and root rot. So this is when you have a tomato that looks beautiful, you flip it over, and the bottom end of it, or the blossom end,
it's all black.
It's all brown or black, and it looks gross. So this is a result of a lack of calcium that your plant is able to pick up.
Not a lack of calcium, the element in the soil.
Right. It could be
very rarely.
Yeah, but very rarely that's the case. So blossom end root rot or blossom end rot is because of the fact that your plant's not accessing the calcium. So a lot of people get this because they'll plant their tomatoes, early summer, late spring, and then you'll have some rain, and then the rain won't happen, and then you have this blossom and root rot, and then people are like, add eggshells or add
Tums, powdered milk. List goes on and on.
Yeah. And then water it in, and then you water it in, and it takes care of the problem. But the reason when you're watering it in, you are allowing that calcium back into the plant.
Now, this doesn't fix the problem on the plant currently. If you've got a whole batch of tomatoes that look underneath it, they're black, then watering is not going to fix that batch of tomatoes. It will fix or greatly reduce the chances of you having the next growth of tomatoes. So you want to remove the tomatoes that are affected now, unless you want to try to salvage some of them, or you can have fried green tomatoes, whatever the case is. But watering consistently, and tomatoes from flower to fruit, based on it's 20 days for cherry and 30 days for beefsteak, give or take a little bit on either end. But consistent watering, drip irrigation system from DripWorks or Tree Diaper, use coupon code radio Garden15 to save 15% off at checkout. A number of ways in which you can hydrate your soil. Right. And you're going to fix it.
Yep. So that's one.
Let's talk about leaf curl, because everybody I'm seeing online has leaf curl.
Yeah. So leaf curl it's not necessarily new, but it's spreading more rapidly.
It wants to be popular like the other problems.
Apparently. So you have it because it's first of all, it's caused by the tomato leaf curl virus. So it's a viral infection or disease, whatever you want to call it. And so you'll get these plants that are stunted, and then the leaves will be small and they kind of curl upward. So if your leaves are curling downward, that might be a different experience. This is when they're curling upward, and a lot of times, like along the veins, there can be yellowing, or even along the outside, perimeter. Yeah, the outer permanent parameter of the leaves. And then sometimes even they'll take on a bushy appearance. If you know that your tomato that you're growing is bushy, it might be a different problem, or it might not be a problem at all. But if it's like more of a viney tomato and you're experiencing this, could be leaf curl. So, you don't want to obviously have this happen. And a lot of times, if it happens, the flowers will be deformed, they'll fall off, you might not develop fruit, and it's very frustrating. So you can get disease-resistant varieties. That's one way to deal with the tomato leaf curl. And then the other thing is to plant immediately any tomato-free period or winter season. So planting them a little bit, not early, because if it's going to be too cold and make your tomatoes not live, that's too early. But if it's like, don't wait until 3 weeks after you should have planted them. Especially if the viral disease is in your area.
So it's a timely thing.
Yeah. Also, whiteflies can, I don't know if they can spread it, but whiteflies can be a problem. So, yeah, you want to Oh yeah, they are a problem. Sorry. So if you know that the plants came from Florida, Georgia, Texas, California, and anywhere in Mexico. So say you buy from a big box store. Mm-hmm. A lot of times those plants are imported from other places, and that's when it's a problem. So if you see a tomato plant, you don't know where it's come from, and then there's whiteflies all over it, don't buy that plant.
Right. Some of these manufacturers or growers will do regional, but yeah, you got to be careful where your source comes from. One other thing before we run out of time in this segment, cat facing. It's called cat eye. It's the bottom of the tomatoes. It's deformed. It's not round. It's not blossom end rot, but it's called cat eye or cat facing on the tomato.
Is this a newer problem?
No, it's people like, what's wrong with the bottom of my tomato? It's deformed. It's not round and smooth like a tomato is supposed to be. This is a disorder that occurs when weather conditions are interfering with the pollination of the flower and the fruit development. If the cold temperatures you're below 50, or it's hot and above 85 degrees, both in Fahrenheit, this can cause cat facing, a dramatic effect on the flower development. It's very rigid, gray areas. It's not rotten at all. It's just a very deformed looking bottom to the tomatoes. Now, in your heirloom variety tomatoes, you're going to have not so much the pristine, smooth, round bottom of the tomato that you would see in the store, but this is a dramatic difference in the two different types, an heirloom versus cat facing on a tomato due to improper or bad weather conditions. And there's not really much you can do about it. You can just work around. It's not going to make the flavor go, taste bad or anything. It's just going to look a little imperfection and just part of the thing. But it's not a problem. It's nothing that you've done. It's not an insect that's come in. It's just a temperature swing. And these plants, these vegetables, I know there's a lot of places in the country where it's super, super hot. Most vegetables, or peppers and tomatoes for this sake, tomatoes, once it gets about 85 to 90, they shut down. They won't produce. The pollen, it dries up.
So one thing I wanted to say about a lot of tomato diseases or plant diseases is don't take those plants and compost them. Don't take those plants and toss them
over the neighbor's fence.
Don't toss them over the neighbor's fence. Don't toss them into the yard collection people that are going to put it into the city dump compost and it's going to spread the disease. Put them directly into the trash. Don't burn them. Don't do any of that.
But my municipality doesn't want me to do that. Bury it. Mix it in with some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrap it in a bag. Put it in a bag. Put the bag in.
Put it in the cat litter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's ways around this.
Right. You don't want to continue to spread the disease, especially as a lot of these diseases become more aggressive. Unfortunately, you don't want to continue spreading them.
Walton's Incorporated has the deal for you. If you you like spices and tools in order to process animal or game, they have all that for you at waltonsinc.com.
Yeah, just think about it. You can make some delicious snack sticks, jerky, any other meat product.
Just a nice roast.
Yeah, to your high standard. Not as what?
A nice roast.
A nice
with
roast.
The seasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To your high standards, you want to make snack sticks that people will like instead of, going to the store and possibly paying an arm and a leg for them. You want to go to meatgistics.com, an informative site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's has everything, a full line of meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers. They have delicious spices that are through the company Excalibur Seasonings, and it's what the professional processors use, or like Joy said, roast, chili, what have you. And they have everything you need, everything but the meat. And that is, if you use code GROW50, you can save 10% off your orders of $50 or more. And that's at waltonsinc.com.
When we come back, we are going to discuss native plants on your property and why it is important for you to consider them. You're tuned into the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Grip 6 produces American-made products with sleek designs and quality materials. Based and manufactured in Utah, they have high-quality and durable products to last a lifetime. They are built beyond tough. Their belts are minimalist and one-of-a-kind with no holes or flap hanging over. Designs and styles for men and women. Something for everyone. Versatile to mix and match fashionable buckles and belt webbing. Colorful or timeless designs to match your style. You know how bulky and uncomfortable a belt can be, but not a problem with the Grip 6 belt. Comfortable but durable, a belt that moves and works with you and your lifestyle. Perfect for all the bending, twisting, shifting, and moving during gardening, yard work, and all of your everyday life. It's almost like you're not wearing a belt at all. Designed and manufactured in-house for the best results and quality every time. When you purchase from Grip 6, you're supporting long life cycle products and American-made manufacturing. Check out their belts, wallets, and socks at grip6.com. Use code RADIO15 to save 15% off at grip6.com.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com and use coupon code RADIO23 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. Tree hugger sprinklers are the ultimate watering device for either your newly planted or established trees and shrubs. Our sprinklers open and close around the trunk of your tree and provide 360 degrees of watering. With our adjustable valve, you can direct the water to your tree's targeted saturation zone. They come in 3 sizes, 7, 11, and 15 inches. You can purchase a tree hugger sprinkler at your local garden center, feed store, or hardware store. Go to treehuggersprinklers.com to find a retailer close to you. Or you can buy it directly from Amazon or treehuggersprinklers.com. If you're an independent nursery, garden center, hardware store, or feed store, you will want to stock this product. Contact the good people at Tree Hugger Sprinklers and they will get you set up. Your tree's best friend. treehuggersprinklers.com. Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit blueribbonorganics.com.
Fleet Farm's Garden Center is now open. Stop in to check out their selection of nursery quality plants available at low prices. All of their plants are grown in the Midwest, and their vegetables are insecticide free. Choose from annuals, perennials, shrubs, trees, and more. Plus, take care of your lawn with grass seed fertilizers, lawnmowers, and string trimmers. Get everything you need to keep your yard looking great at Fleet Farm, your lawn and garden headquarters. Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Dripworks, Rise Gardens, Grip 6, Bloomin' Easy, Fleet Farm, Waltons Incorporated, Blue Ribbon Organics, Tree Diaper. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. We're going to talk native plants, but first, a word from our good friends from Farmers Defense.
Farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against the elements outdoors. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmers Defense is made of wicking material with UBF protection factor of 50 plus to protect you from the allergens and scratches. To find all of their great products and more, visit farmersdefense.com.
Also good if you're going camping or you've got your own land that you're working, and you got some protective measures there for you as well to protect your arms and your head there from the heat and the scratches of the bushes. So native plants, talking about bushes, native plants support the entire food web by providing food for insects, birds, bats, and small mammals and other wildlife. This is particularly important now since scientists are documenting global decline in insect population. Used in a rain garden, native plants help minimize flooding and filters out pollution. That's just some of the benefits of having native plants on your property or in your landscape.
Yeah, so let's kind of dive into that. They do provide a home and food source for butterflies, including monarchs and other insects. they attract those pollinators. So you'll see, if you grow native plants, you'll see those beautiful blooms, and they will attract those pollinators. So it's kind of like they're supporting their ecosystem. So the pollinators have something to pollinate, and then therefore your plants are going to look better.
But I have flowers.
Right, and that's fine. But native plants are the original plant, right? That's where the word native comes from, and so it's naturally a good place for your ecosystem in your backyard or wherever. And it just means, if you don't know what ecosystem means, it just means like the balance of the home of where you live in. So you can have an ecosystem in your own house, but you can also have an ecosystem in nature.
Well, the thing about native plants is they're native to your region. Phoenix is different than Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is different than St. Louis and Minneapolis. There's different species or varieties that grow in those areas. And some places in the world, that is the only place in the whole world that particular species grows, or that variety of that flower or that tree grows. And it's designed for that balance of ecosystem for those particular insects or bugs or birds that have a direct correlation with that tree, bush, or shrub or flower.
Absolutely. And so these plants are also low maintenance. They require a lot less water.
They're adaptive to the area because they know what the area is going to be.
Right. So they've existed in that area for a very long time.
Well, like for example here, cactus. Cactus don't grow too well in Pittsburgh or Boulder, Maine, but they grow really good in Phoenix and Colorado and Utah because they are native and they have adapted to the environment.
Absolutely. So they are, that low maintenance, and they do adapt to the environment. And then they also, like prairie plants, for example, have evolved to deal with the summer, heat, drought, etc. Their roots are strong. Their roots do go deep. They don't need fertilizer. A lot of these native plants don't need any additional care. Maybe when you get them started, they do, but once they're established, you typically don't. And that's going to save you money and keep extra nutrients out of the waters, and also
balance the bug infestation, because the good bugs are going to come in and control the bad bugs. And you bring up the word prairie, most people are like, what does that mean?
There's prairie land all around us.
I'm talking, there used to be billions of acres, and now there's just minuscule amount of acres now.
I don't know the exact scientific definition of prairie, but there is prairie land. You probably, if you Google search prairie land in your zip code, as long as you don't live in the desert, there's probably prairie land of some sort nearby. Generically,
it's an open area with different types of grasses and shrubbery growing, not trees.
No, not trees. Right. Yeah. So, I know by us here, we're our studios in the Milwaukee area, and there's a lot of prairie land area. Not a lot, but there are prairie land areas not too far.
But Wisconsin, the Department of Natural Resources in Wisconsin, they work very hard in order to preserve areas for that, so it's not taken away and we lose that.
Right.
I don't know if that's the same in every other state, but
I don't know.
Wisconsin has a very dedicated work mindset towards, we're going to preserve as much forest and prairie land as possible so it doesn't go to farmland or go to residential establishments.
Right. So native plants also kind of give back to the soil. They support the good soil quality. They help prevent erosion. And
because of the deep roots.
Yep. And then they also are able to absorb water quickly because of those deep roots. They're going to store that water in the roots or wherever they need to. So they're good for the soil. They're good for things like flooding and also just erosion. So these are all things that I'm sure even if you don't know what these words mean or whatever, you don't think about them, I'm sure you've heard them, whether it be on the news or somewhere else, people talking about flooding, erosion, etc. They are beautiful. If you think about something like the black-eyed Susan, which is a common plant, which is also known as Rudbeckia, or even like the purple blazing star, you've probably seen these plants, whether it be walking down the street.
In the ditch.
The ditch.
Uh-huh.
And they are very colorful, very vibrant, and they fit any landscape very well. And they connect us to the natural world.
And with those vibrant colors, they are vibrant for a specific reason to attract certain pollinators in to do to attract and pollinate and cross pollinate and all the things that the pollinators do.
They attract me.
They attract you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you look at erosion, and you will come to a point where in your area you will have a large amount of rain come in a very short period of time, and you will see in areas where there is no vegetation, agricultural field, it's just been tilled, that it cuts a very deep trench through that as the water is cascading through the field. It's going, it takes all that soil with it. That is why in agricultural world, in some places, it's called waterways, where there is distinct areas that are low-lying, that is all grass. In our instance, back on the farm, it was fescue, but it could be 5 foot or 15 foot wide by the width of the field as it would go down to the lower areas, and that would help prevent or slow down erosion in the field and capture that water and funnel it away without disturbing or cutting big ditches into the field.
I remember the first time Joey told me about fescue. We were on...
This is another story.
Another story.
We didn't hear nobody say they didn't like the stories. Let's put it that way.
We were on, I don't know we were on the...
neighbor's property.
The neighbor's property. Yeah. And we were walking, and you said something about the fescue, and I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, that's the native grass. And you explained it just probably how you did. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I'm a plant person. So
it's what in Southern Illinois, that is grown a lot in pastures for cattle and in waterways.
And we were just dating at that point. So many years ago. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
Comes full circle. We're talking about fescue 16 years later. It was probably around this time of the year.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But that's...
Do you like my story?
The story's wonderful. GardenTalkRadio@gmail.com if you'd like to hear more stories. Holly can sit down and tell you everything that you would ever imagine to know.
But they have to be authentic.
But okay, yeah, I know they have to be authentic. They can't be Jay Peterman buying Kramer's stories.
No, but I'm saying that they have to be like off the cuff, like we're talking about something, and then
if people are wanting to transform a portion of their property into native plants, what is the most reliable or best place to go in order to go, okay, I'm in this region, what are the top 5 most native plants in which are accessible and I can put in my yard?
You can typically go to your Department of Natural Resources website. They will have a listing there, and then depending on the state, they might have it by region. Otherwise, if you go to your local garden center, they should sell these native plants.
They'll have they'll have an area.
Yeah, they'll have an area of the native plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would go with the DNR or the extension office to find out what they would recommend, because they would know what, this used to be a native plant, but because of the conditions changing and the growing zones elevating farther north, this no longer is good for this area, even though it was a traditional native plant. I think that would be a good way to go as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, the weather is warmed up, Holly, and you want to protect your garden from various beetles, weevils, and borers, especially those Japanese beetles that we are having flying around in your area.
And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by controlling
You're so bothered by them that you came and...
I am, especially beetles.
Uh-huh.
That Grub Gun is an easy to apply granular product that can spread on your turf to successfully control the grub invaders. Developed by Phyllum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gun is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only scarab pests, and it's safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
If you already have beetles flying around your yard, Beetle Gone is an organic water dispersible powder that you can spray directly on your edible plants. For more information, visit them at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. When we come back, hang out with us, a.k.a. Rebecca, the Easter gardener, will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now, 1-800-927-SHOW.
A non-selective herbicide that is USDA certified? Yep, No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products, the same great company that brings you no more bugs. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. No More Weeds is a commercial-grade vinegar base with a proprietary sticking agent. Great around pools, decks, patios, and more. Visit natgreenproducts.com. Free shipping on orders over $50 using code FREESHIP4ME.
Chapin has the tools for planting your garden and keeping it growing all season long. Whether your garden is big or small, Chapin has sprayers and spreaders for fertilizing, weed, and pest control, watering, and seeding. You can find Chapin products at your local hardware store, big box retailer. You may visit them also online at chapinmfg.com to learn more and buy online.
Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com. Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907, with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 10TG23 to receive 10% off your order at jungseeds.com. Again, that coupon code is 10TG23.
Do you know that overwatering and underwatering are the top causes of plant death? Tree Diaper solves both those problems by absorbing excess water and releasing it back when the soil dries. Use code GARDEN15 to save 15% on treediaper.com. Aqua-Mart.com has everything you need for eye-pleasing outdoor water features on your property. For over 25 years, we've been creating and field testing beautiful water features in order to provide you with the most reliable products and best value in the industry. From easy-to-install pond and water fill kits to pumps, fish food, and more, you'll find everything you need to install and maintain a naturally balanced water feature in your yard. Make your backyard a true oasis and maintain it well. Visit aqua-mart.com to shop for all your needs. Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to save 10% off your order.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Aqua-Mart, Soil Savvy, Wind River Chimes, Wisconsin Greenhouse Company, Pro Plugger, Deer Defeat, Dripping Springs Oyas, Phylum Bioproducts. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Moments away, Rebecca, a.k.a. the Easter Gardener. But first, a word from our good friends at Rise Gardens.
Rise Gardens is a revolutionary hydroponic gardening system for your home. Instead of food traveling hundreds or even over 1,000 miles before it hits your plate, harvest the veggies, herbs, and greens you need for dinner tonight in the comfort of your home. No green thumb required knowledge. Gardening made easy with the Rise Gardens app. Step-by-step guidance from seed to harvest. A complete garden on a shelf, and comes with everything you need to grow healthy and fresh food for you and your loved ones. Fully customize your garden to your needs and preferences. For more information and get your Rise Garden, visit risegardens.com.
Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Rebecca is the Easter Gardener and originally from Tucson, Arizona, podcaster, content creator, and garden enthusiast. Rebecca's mission is to share her love of gardening and composting with everyone. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day and not only to educate Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. And I'll start with this. Was gardening something you grew up with? Because as we see on your social media, you ask for advice. How did you get your start into gardening?
Yeah, so I did not grow up with gardening at all. Not even flowers or anything like that. I actually, it's a really silly story. I was actually reading The Secret Garden. And as soon as I finished the book, I went right to Walmart, bought a pot and a couple flowers, and figured it out from there and just fell in love. And it grew and grew and grew from there. Well,
I think that, as with that type of scenario, you didn't know what you didn't know, and you probably made mistakes that you didn't know you made, but somehow they worked out, and you learned a whole lot more than if you just would have, read it in a book. Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3.
No, absolutely. And that's exactly why I started my social media account, was to ask for advice and ask for feedback and learn from others and grow with others. It's exactly why I started my social media.
Yeah, that's definitely it's a very helpful place, and I think that sometimes older gardeners don't necessarily do that, as opposed to, I think, millennials and younger. It's like we're building a community, whether it be online or directly in our community, where we help each other and feel free to ask those questions. Like, there's really no stupid questions, and I think there's a generational shift there.
And I totally agree, and I wish that would change, because we need that knowledge. We need that generational knowledge that is just going away.
Right. And I don't know what the disconnect there is. We have many older listeners to the program, and I don't know if it's just they've always been kept to themselves and they don't think anybody cares or wants to hear their information. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and I love asking questions, and I love, especially the Facebook groups are really helpful as well. But just asking the questions, and that's just how we all learn at the end of the day.
Definitely. So you are mostly raised by gardener, from what I can tell. Is there a reason why you use raised beds? Did you start with gardening in the ground, or did you start with raised beds initially? Why raised by gardener?
So during the pandemic, I was living in an apartment and doing a lot of pots inside, and all my window seals were filled with pots, and every single bit of sunlight was filled to the brim. And one Friday afternoon, we're bored, and my husband found an old bookshelf that he converted into a raised bed, and we put it right outside the door. And that's just kind of how I started gardening in a raised bed. And I really like the method of it. I like the no-till. I use the cardboard and layer that on top. I just think I like that method better. I haven't tried planting in the ground, so I don't have that knowledge, but I'd be willing to learn for sure.
Now, when your husband came to you and said, I've got a bookshelf, I'm going to turn it into a raised bed, were you like, then yeah, or yeah, go ahead and do it. I'll get the soil right now?
I kept telling him I need something. Like he obviously saw all the plans and how enthused I was about it, and he's like, let's just make a little planter that you can just go outside and view it. And the first one was so jam-packed. I can't even tell you. It was so tiny, and I still have photos of it today, but it's oh man. And I just really liked that contained method of gardening.
Well, and it seems like your husband at least supports your love of plants, if not is involved in it. For people who don't have that spousal support system, how can one gather or encourage their spouse to be supportive in this mechanism of growing plants, or edible or non-edible?
I would say I think if you're passionate about something, your partner will hopefully get on board. And I have a couple of videos of how to build raised beds that are really simple. And I think if you're just like, hey, let's just go to Home Depot, will you help me do this? Just the politeness of it. And I mean, my husband, he doesn't do any of the gardening. He just built me the beds. So that's all his involvement was. But so he doesn't need to be involved with the other stuff.
But he sees that as your partner, that you're passionate, and he wants to help however he can. And he might not enjoy the gardening part, but he was like, hey, I'll hook you up with a bookshelf garden, and obviously it involved from there.
Correct. Yeah. And he actually built all of my raised beds that I have now and put in my watering system. So but again, that's what social media is for. You can ask for advice if you don't have a spouse like that. You can Google. There's Pinterest, a lot of resources.
Did you draw the connection to the fact that you started your garden based off of a book, and then your first raised bed was a bookshelf?
I did not make that connection. That's great.
And your husband has probably puts together there is much more expensive hobbies you could be partaking in than just gardening. So
I agree. I agree. There's totally other things.
Well, let's talk about, you talked about your bookshelf garden being jam-packed. What are some of your favorite small space garden saving tips?
So I was a huge, again, before I moved into a house, I was an apartment gardener. So I really utilized every bit of windowsill, balcony I had, little pots. Those are great. You can grow a lot of vegetables and edible food in pots very easily. So I love that method. You can also, depending on the space you have, you can ask your landlord if you can just put a little planter outside. There's lots of little things like that you can do. You don't need a big space to garden. And I really want to emphasize that.
Well, and yeah, I think that's part of the old generation. They've got to be so many feet apart, and they got to be monocultured, and we got to have a lot of space, or otherwise it's not worth gardening at all.
No, and that's another thing that I think my generation is changing, is you can garden in small spaces. I mean, look at the towers now they have with the water systems that you can grow herbs in and tomatoes. It's wild, the things you can do with small space.
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton of options. So let's talk about a recent garden success that you're really proud of, and you're glad that you tried it. And then on the flip side of that, maybe a fail that you learned from.
Okay, so this year I did strawberries for the first time. Never done strawberries. They were very successful. Took a couple of tries. I had to do a lot of research. I had to ask questions and why is this looking this way on my Instagram, and got some help that way. But that was a success. And then the fail, I didn't put an irrigation system in one of my beds. Huge mistake. And we'll talk about that later on. But I just can't get out there as often as I would like to hand water. And I ended up dying. So there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in everything with gardening. That's what I love about it.
Well, with varying weather patterns are becoming more of a challenging time now. Any tips on keeping your plants hydrated? You talked about you forgot to water them or couldn't water them without the irrigation system. How can we do that without the soil drying out? What in addition to irrigation can we use?
Absolutely. I started this season using hay, like straw hay. I did a lot of research on that. You just put it over your plants, and it really contains the moisture in the soil. Now, with that, it did cause some weeds to pop up that you just have to hand pick. That's not a big deal. It doesn't overshadow anything. But the hay really contains the moisture in the soil, I've noticed.
But it's a blanket. It's a natural blanket.
Correct.
For the soil.
Exactly.
And it also can keep the soil cooler by a minimum of 3 to 5 degrees. And based on where you're at in the country, that keeping the roots cool, that is the difference between living plant or dead plant.
Absolutely. And if you're hand watering, it also helps with the time that you're not watering. And it's just overall a good system to use and natural.
So since, you kind of got started gardening, you did get started gardening just by going out and doing it and just getting your hands dirty.
Would
you have any words of wisdom to maybe people who are like, I've never gardened before, and where should I start? I don't know where to start. Do I just go to the store and buy soil? Any words of wisdom and maybe where they should start, or do you just recommend them just going and doing it?
I would say, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't have a green thumb. I kill everything I have. And I think that is such a sorry excuse, because you don't know how to read until you learn to read, right? This is a learning process. And gardeners kill things all the time.
Right.
And that's just how you learn. So I would say don't be afraid of the failure, because that's how you learn. And don't be afraid to ask questions. There's so many resources now. And just do it. Just go to the store, buy a pot, get a little vegetable, some soil, water it, you're good to go. And if it dies, guess what? You have another opportunity to grow.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of summer now, but containers
Yes.
would be the go-to if somebody's listening and going, well, I didn't do anything. Grab a container based on where you're at and where you're at in the country. Find out what the best vegetable to plant in that container is, and go for it.
Exactly. Yep. And most likely the first time it's not going to work, but then you learn what you did wrong and how you can change it going forward. That's the lesson, you know?
And we bring experts on, much like you, each and every week, and they give advice, and we give advice as well. And people, go to YouTube, go to the internet. Don't always believe everything you see on YouTube, because there's a certain percentile of people on YouTube are good-hearted, but they say things in order to get you to come back because they need that click. They need that revenue for that AdSense. So it's kind of like a politician type of thing. What do I need to say for you to keep coming back?
Exactly.
So
right.
Watch a bunch and knock out the really crazy stuff on both ends and kind of go with the middle.
Right. And you're never going to get it. Yeah, it's so dependent on different zones. And I mean, all these things you can research, and that's all it is. It's just learning.
Right. Well, Rebecca, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered us. How can people find out more about you and follow your journey in your garden?
Yeah, I am the Easter Gardener on Instagram, and that's the main place I am. And go ahead and DM me for any questions. And if I don't have the answer, I will find you someone that does.
Well, Rebecca, we thank you so much for the time you've given us and the education you've shared with Holly and myself and all of our listeners.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's Your Garden Questions, Our Garden Answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
You put a lot of time and energy in your garden, but without a rescue Japanese beetle trap, you can kiss that hard work goodbye. Asparagus annihilated. Raspberries ravished. Green beans, forget about it. Get those little invasive pests out of your garden and send them where they belong, inside a rescue Japanese beetle trap. Now with available refill lures, rescue Japanese beetle traps can be used for multiple seasons. They're made in the USA by the makers of the popular Rescue Fly and Yellow Jacket traps. Learn more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
Hi, I'm Russell Taylor with Live Earth Products. I'm a soil health expert here to help you. Live Earth Products specializes in soil conditioners and fertilizers that will help you build healthy and vibrant flower and vegetable gardens. As our name describes, Live Earth means healthy soils. Live Earth Products are humic and fulvic soil amendments and are all natural, organic, and directly from our family mine in Utah. Live Earth products are easy to apply, and the results will blossom right before your eyes. Live Earth products can be applied throughout the growing season. So pick up Live Earth Humate Soil Conditioner, our Liquid 6 Humic Acid, at your local garden center or on Amazon. Also available through our website, liveearth.com. That's LIVEARTH.com. Live Earth, here to bring vitality to life in your garden.
You know what's different about Verlo mattress? Everything. Like no price gouging, no shenanigans, none of the shady dealings of other mattress chains and furniture stores that overcharge for virtually the same mattress. The ripoff stops here. Verlo makes every mattress they sell, so you get better quality, lower prices, and a lifetime comfort guarantee. Because at the end of the day, you don't deserve shenanigans, you deserve a good night's sleep. Wake up, sleep better. Verlo.
Dripping Springs Oyas clay pot irrigation solves the watering needs for gardens, bushes, new trees, and more. An ancient irrigation system we brought to America. Dripping Springs Oyas, OLLAS, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Check us out.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com. Wind River Chimes creates a symphony in any space. Chimes that are inspired by nature and designed to make the natural world even more inspiring. Music speaks to everyone. Individually handcrafted in Virginia for over 35 years and hand-tuned for an exceptional precision and lasting beauty. Because in life, the winds of change are always moving. But no matter where they carry you, Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Happy Leaf LED, Root Maker, Jung Seeds, Tree Hugger Sprinklers, Verlo Mattresses, Farmer's Defense, Pomona Universal Pectin, Natural Green Products, Mantis Tillers. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy you've allowed us to be part of your day-to-day and given a little of your time to us. If you got a question, we can give you an answer. It's time for garden questions and garden answers. You can send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can certainly do that at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. And if we can't get to you, leave a message and we will call you back with the answer to your question.
So, the question is sponsored by Fleet Farm and fleetfarm.com. I have leftover seeds that they say they'll expire this December. So do I just throw them out? Will they be good for next year? What should I do?
Okay. So on the pack of every seed package you purchase, there's going to be a best sell by date or expiration date or some date that is in the calendar year in which you bought it. There is some law or some government thingamajig that the seeds have to be sold. They cannot be sold past a certain date in that calendar year by the company. It doesn't, or they have to either give them away or sell them all before that time frame that the date is. That doesn't mean the seeds expire or go bad. Seeds can be good for many, many years beyond the date that is on the package. Now, this is also the time later on in the year, you will typically see a lot of seed companies dump the seeds, meaning massive discounts. That doesn't mean that the seeds are no good. If maintained in a proper environment, you can have tomato seeds last 8 to 9 years. Green beans, 5 years. Onions, parsnips, leeks, up to 2 years, maybe 3, based on if you keep them in a chilled refrigerator crisper. So you can save a lot of money on seeds at the end of the growing season, like in the fall, when these companies have to get rid of these seeds on sale. But no, they're perfectly fine. That's just a legal thing from the seed company, so you can buy them up, save them, but don't buy so many that you're not going to use them in a timely manner, because as the seeds get older, they do lose a viability of approximately 10% each year. So every year you lose 10% seed germination rate. So after 5 years, the seeds are about 50% gone. That's not a hard, fast rule, but it's a general understanding of how long seeds are good for. All right, Holly. You had a guest on a few weeks ago. They talked about birds and this bird app that I would like to get, but I can't find it. Can you give me any information?
Yeah, it's called the Merlin app, and that's MERLIN.
Merlin Bird App.
Merlin Bird App, and it's from the Cornell School of Ornithology. And
they don't know who we are. We're not associated with them.
It's a free app.
It's a free app.
It might take up some space on your
about
phone.
1 gigabyte.
Yeah.
And it will notify you. There's several different things. You find your region, and then it'll pull up your zip code and all that. But it identifies hundreds of birds, and you can sit on your porch, and every time a bird chirps, oh, that's a sparrow, that's a goldfinch, that's a robin, that's a red-winged blackbird, and every time they chirp, it illuminates that name of that bird, and it has a little picture beside it. It's really neat to use, and you can learn the sounds of the birds based on how that is. Now, it is an app. It's not perfect. The seagulls that are near Lake Michigan, it thinks those are robins. Because I went down there specifically to see if I could get that to read, and it would pop up robin. It would pick up as a robin.
There's
so
definitely
there's some
a distinction between a seagull and a robin.
It just wouldn't do it. Now, fun fact, with this app, if you are trying to learn birds, and if you're like, watching gardening shows or potentially like camping videos online, and there's a lot of birds in the background, 90% of the time you put the phone by the TV or your computer, you can't really do it while you're watching your phone, it will identify the birds through the TV. So you can kind of learn that way too if you don't have certain species. I mean, it's you can play with it. It's really, really neat. But Merlin Bird app takes about 1 gigabyte of space on your phone, but it's really a cool app, especially if you've got young ones that you're trying to get off their phones, but here's a way to have them on the phones but learning at the same time. All right, Holly, I have large green peppers, and I planted red bell peppers. What's the deal?
Well, to achieve the sweeter, more nutritious peppers, green peppers have to stay on the vine, and they will continue to ripen into those red peppers. So you want to water them. You want to make sure that they are cared for, and then it will take 2 to 3 weeks once they've reached that green state to turn fully red.
Now, we all see green peppers at the store. Green peppers are unripe peppers. There's nothing wrong with picking a green pepper, but traditionally in North America, we have been conditioned that a green pepper is a ripe pepper. It's a good pepper. That's fine.
It basically just has less of that natural capsaicin that does.
You want to eat your color. You want to eat your vegetables of color.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with eating green peppers.
No.
I like the tangy kind of bitterness of them at times versus the sweetness of a red or yellow or orange sweet pepper.
Now, we're talking just bell peppers here.
Yeah.
We're not talking the spicy habanero or jalapenos or anything like that.
It's just because, no, they are not fully ripe, but it's not a problem to eat them because they are so, I guess, normalized, if you want to say that. So yeah, your red peppers, if you're waiting for them to turn red, first of all, make sure that's what you planted. Second of all,
a traditional green pepper, if left along on the vine or brought in, it will. You see them and you buy them at the store, and they'll start changing in the fridge.
Yeah. So yeah, just make sure you know what color you're waiting for, I guess.
Fun fact here, another fun fact. Show's full of fun facts. In North America, in the United States, we have been conditioned when you grow leeks, you only eat the bleached or white portion of the leek. In many portions of the world, the whole leek is consumed. There's nothing wrong with eating the green leaves. I mean, if it's all fully green and not dying off. Many countries utilize the whole plant. The United States, we cut off most of the plant and throw it in the compost or in the trash.
Yeah, and the show is full of fun facts. You know why?
Why?
Because you're a fun guy.
Okay.
A little mushroom fungus humor for you.
All right, moving on. What is the best size to harvest cucumbers?
Well, so for this, you want to know what kind of cucumbers you planted.
And what the purpose of
you're going to
use them for.
So if it's a pickling cucumber, it's probably going to be about 3 or 4 inches long. If it's something like a slicing cucumber, like a Market 4 or Market More,
Market 70,
Market 75,
straight 8,
yep. It's probably going to be 8 to 9 inches long.
But couldn't you take those pickling cucumbers that we all imagine being that size? Couldn't you harvest multiple ones that are just very small, like little tiny 1 to 2 inch ones that you would get at the grocery store in a jar? Can you not? You don't have to wait on them. You can harvest many of them on the small side and have a whole jar of small pickles.
Yeah, you can harvest them early. Mm-hmm. But I guess what I'm saying is that if you want that long slicing cucumber,
the spheres,
you just don't want to wait too long.
No, because then it turns yellowish, it turns white, it becomes extremely bitter because of the production of seeds, not the production of the fruit itself.
Right.
All right, I have a problem with my cabbage. It's split open. What happened to it? Do I have some kind of insect problem? No.
Sometimes your cabbage heads will split. So this is sometimes like when tomatoes split, it's after a heavy rain and that cabbage takes up too much moisture. And when it does split, you do want to harvest it right away.
Right. So just like tomatoes, if you got a lot of them just about to turn ripe, they will ripen inside, and it's going to rain. You want to harvest them because it will suck up the extra moisture and blow the tomatoes apart and blow the bottoms out of them because the skin can't expand as fast as the internals. Same thing is happening with the cabbage here. You want to harvest it before a big rain, and so it doesn't get that splitting problem, because we've had tomatoes that super dry spell, lot of rain one day, go out, and it's just like somebody threw a firecracker in the bottom of it, and just bottoms were blown out and the skins were hanging there because it sucked so much water up and couldn't do anything with it because it was super dry, extremely wet, and then boom, boom, tomatoes exploded. So the cabbage went boom, boom, and cracked open.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Sounds like a real problem.
So with that being said, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Missed any portion of the program today or would like to revisit it, you can certainly do that by going to our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and clicking on the Season 7 tab at the top of the page. Or you can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we will send you the link to this program. Tune in next week to the show where we'll be discussing weeding, the goods and the bads on that, as well as author Renee Dang will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.